Merhaba Boisai. This is Yehud 11, and the program is 11 at 11, heard each and every Thursday evening at 6:20 on WSNR AM radio out of New York and parts of New Jersey. You can also access this program and all the archive programs on our video. The YouTube channel is 11, Levin, 11, the numeral 11, or you could simply type in rabbi.zone, and you'll get directly to the YouTube channel. And of course, dare not forget a very important telephone number, which I urge all of you to spread around to your compatriots, your family, your friends, etc. This is where you could be a shutter from the program. The number is 641. The hotline, 715-3900, 641-715-3900, and the extension is 247656. Someday, I'm going to memorize this number, for the second straight week, Rabbi Sai. I have to give a tremendous shout-out and yashkoyach to our dear friend and supporter, Rav Alta Eliezer Richter, great-grandson of All for the Boss, Rabbi Herman, but once again, volunteering to sponsor this week's radio program. It should be a zchus for Rav Alta Eliezer, who is a Ben Torah Yerushalayim and a true great-grandson of Rabbi Yosef Herman, Zechreinu Levrocha, Zecher Tzadik Levrocha, because he's already a tremendous activist, stood outside of the library in Lakewood when nobody else did it, Neutels Chakanei Kulam, protesting the fact that the youth library was featuring all kinds of Mishkav Zachar propaganda for a full month of June, and Fruma kids were going in there left to right. P.S. There's going to be a Lakewood meeting, a meeting of their board or whatever you call it there, the committee people, and everyone's going to have a right to speak. The challenge to Lakewood is how many people are going to get up and challenge the committeemen, the mayor, etc., in advance now, to take the necessary firm, strong actions with the Ocean County legislative body to defund or not to provide funds for another homosexual month this coming June. How many people are going to speak up against this? How many people are going to speak up about other problems that we've discussed in the past on this radio program? It remains to be seen, Rabbi Say, but you have an opportunity, all of those in Lakewood, to be Neutels Chakanei Kulam by standing up and speaking up forcefully. Alta Eliezer Richter is sponsoring this program as a zchus for him. He would like to have ashirus. He would like to have the means, the wherewithal, to be able to implement many of his Torah plans that would be for the betterment of Klal Yisrael. He's very offended by a lot of billboards around New York State, around New Jersey, around the country. He would like to challenge them legally. That requires money. He is a very impressive in his hekef and what he wants to do internationally to help people in South Africa, students in public schools, to go to the equivalent of a Talmud Torah and learn Chumash and Gemara after school, and he's been working on that. So please, everybody say amen to this bracha. Alta Eliezer Richter should be zoicha to be able to have the wherewithal to implement his prayers, and he should be gesund, stark, chayim tov maruchim, with simcha, and everything good, kol tuv sela. My Rabbi Say, one of the best kept secrets in Flatbush is that without all the ballyhoo, without all the media hype, there are Yidden, Rebbes, people without great Hasidic followings who are very, very ehrlich, very choshev, and they live lives of true humbleness and humility. And those who are fortunate enough to know them, to daven with them, to have a shaykhs with them. Just earlier tonight, I'm taping this Wednesday night. It's already deep into Thursday morning. I had the privilege of attending the final Shever Brachas of Reb Zev Twersky, a son of the erstwhile esteemed Skvera Rebbe of Flatbush, think his name is Rev Yitzhak Tursky, whose Stiebel is on Ocean Parkway between Quentin and Avenue P. And I want you to know it was like an homologous simcha. It was so beautiful to watch the faces, to see the Adela dancing with expressions of Yerushalayim, to see these little 3 and 4-year-old kindler holding on to each other and dancing, to see the chassan dancing in a circle with all the little kindler with true joy on his face. The whole matzav, you could feel the Ziskite, the Edelkeit, the Yiddishkeit, the Kedusha, the Tahara. You could cut it with a knife and take home a hunk of it. It was mamish beautiful to sit there and to participate in the simcha. I want to tell you that the Yitzhak Tursky, the square Rebbe of Flatbush, as a student in the Mir Yeshiva, as a bocher and as a younger man, when I lived in that area, I would daven the square Beis Medrash. The father was also a Yid, a Hatzna Leches, edel, quiet, but at geflackert mit Yiddishkeit. And his children, Baruch Hashem, he left over Doros like him. And Reb Yitzhak Tursky in particular, when I'm going through various health situations, he's mispala for me, he davens, he gives eitzes, he's concerned, he asks. And I'll tell you, I don't think a person can lose by going in there and davening and chapping around a minyan and getting a baracha. It's something very, very choshev. These amolige, ehrliche Yidden without any of the frills. No frills, the real thing. It was a pleasure to be there. Mazel bracha, and we hope to see many simchas in the house of Skvera Flatbush, in the house of the Turskis. Whatever a voice say. Let's get right on to it. You know, somebody pointed out to me that the years ago when they had one of the first, or perhaps the first Mishkav Zocher parade in Eretz Yisrael, Rav David Niederman and Satmar Company held some sort of a protest. I don't know if it was outside the Israeli consulate, maybe it was in Wiensburg. This person seemed to recall that he saw this in Voss's Nayas. But the point is, with all due respect, let's analyze this. We don't want to detract from any protest against Shmutz. But it's very easy, Rabbi Say, when you're 5,000 or 6,000 miles away from an event to protest there. And although in Ruchnius, if it's an ernst protest, even if you're thousands of miles away, it has a hashpah. But I have to say, with all due respect, why were they protesting? Question, were they protesting because they were offended because of the Tayeva, and it goes against Hashem, and it goes against Eretz Yisrael, especially Vataki Ha'aretz Eschem K'maisa Eretz Kanani, when there's pollution in the land, spiritual pollution, the land spits you out. Were they concerned with Kveit Shemayim, or were they protesting because, we can now substantiate the so-called Satmar Shita of the Shlachs of Tzionis, see what they're doing, they have a parade there. Like, what was the motivation here? Was the motivation to say, Dido Notzach unser Shita is correct? Or were they taka offended by the immorality? So why are Yehuda Levin asking this question now? And it's something that happened almost 10 years ago. And I'm trying to chepa to shtoch Satmar Yehuda. Really up to your old tricks of constant criticism? No, I'm up to Jew think. That's what I call it. Jew think. Using your head and thinking like a Yid with Ashkofa. Why am I asking this question? Because if they can answer me, Avada gewusst that we were opposed to the Mishkav Zocher Parade in Yerushalayim because it's an offense to Hashem, it's a smack in the face, to Kedushas Eretz Yisrael. It's mamish a posik to Ma'aser Eretz Kanani, Atoki Eretz Eschem. If they'll say that, I'll ask, really? So you mean you're only concerned with Kveit Shamayim on the subject of Mishkav Zocher Geyachs when it's in Eretz Yisrael 5,000 miles away? When you make a protest here, it probably isn't even covered in Israel, and the Tzionim don't even see it really. Why? What about your own backyard? We're coming up to elections now. Rev David Niederman and company and all of the Schwitzers and Askunim. I want to ask you, are you going to put out again Lkwd mit Zettlech and machen Tummels and those, like you did for Letitia James? Right, like Satmar did for Letitia James and Ois Vafakeh. Yeah, you're going to do this now for Cuomo, the very person who made Mishkav Zacha marriage in New York and had a dramatic effect in it happening in every other states, because as New York goes, so goes the country. And as the country goes, so the Supreme Court wagging their tails behind them. They're the tail. They're the doggy who's looking at the master. They saw which way the wind is blowing. Yeah, but Satmar's going to vote for this guy. Almost 8 years after he did this chazerai, or 7 years after, they're going to vote for him again. So, is it ausgehalten? And it goes against the Saktis Harabonim's old Kol Kaira, which they made a chucha with Talula and Latzanis. And I want you to know, Rabbi Sar, on this program, we repeat ourselves like what we used to call in the 1960s when they had vinyl records. Okay? We record players, we would say, I'm going to do it like a broken record. A broken record, many of you don't know what it is. There used to be a needle on the Victrola. That was the name brand. So the phonograph used to be called the Victrola, a record player. And sometimes there'd be a scratch in the record, and a broken record, it would play over and over the same thing because the needle would get stuck in the groove, and it would chazu it over again until you push the needle weiter. I'm going to be like a broken record. I'm going to tell you a lot of things tonight that I said in the last few weeks. I'm going to say it again and again, because if we impact on one or two people, we save them from being Machal Hashem, we educate them. So it's nitzchias, it's ruchnias, it has a profound effect, Meir of Rabbi side. I want to wish you again a l'chaim. Allow me to take a little drink. Meir of Rabbi side. Let's chazr it over again. The Satmar Rebbe said you're not allowed to vote in Israeli votes. And I was just in Muncie. And hanging Satmar Beis Medrash, there's a big settle with a lot of little signs. When I looked closely at the signs and microscopically, they had two tzetlach that are appearing in Yerushalayim and Eretz Yisrael, signed by Tov Yavais and the Gaivid, that it's usur to vote and the Bechiris, etc., etc. That's the Shita. And I'm certainly not going to be machnis my head between the Gedolei Hasidim who do vote and the Gedolei Alitoyim who vote and the Bedats and their followers who do not vote. I'm not getting involved. It's beyond my pay grade, much beyond. However, as Reverend Jesse Jackson says, however, what I want to say is like this. The Satmar Rebbe said the reason you're not allowed to vote in the Knesset Aminim is because by voting for them, you're mash for them, you make them into a shliach as your representative. You empowered them. Your vote gave them the power to do things, and therefore anything which they do legislatively, which is inappropriate, which is anti-Torah, you have a chelik in it. Shlucha shel Adam Kamoisai. They're in the tzig, they're representative, they're your ambassador, they're your representative. It makes sense, right, Rabbi Zay? It's not teeth. Comes along Reverend Fall Bloom, who was in 1982 or thereabouts when Fred Richmond, the child molesting congressman from Williamsburg, was outed, and yet the Satmar still voted for him. Because politics and Geld über alles, and especially über Gott, Geld kommt erst, It was a massive chilul Hashem that everybody saw that a guy who was accused of being a pederast or a pedophile or whatever schmutz he was doing there with underage children, and the Charedim with the Langabod and the Pace was still voting for him. The Kashivarov was very offended, very hurt, so he spearheaded and he pushed through that the Saktas Rabbonim in around 1982, the leaders, including the last Satmar Sigata Rebbe, they signed that it's also to honor, to support financially, or to vote for any of these politicians who support the anti-Torah social issues, meaning abortion, meaning Mishkav Zohar, etc. But of course, they promptly ignored it. But the Kashivarov said, you're really ignoring your own Rabbeinu Yoel, because what he said, that when you vote for somebody in Israel, he becomes your representative. You think it's only in Israel? You think that the shlichus is bound by borders of Israel? When you vote for somebody anywhere in the world, he's your shliach and you're responsible. I've said it before, I'll say it again. If somebody came and smacked your wife in the face. And another guy came and punched her in the face. And then they would come to you with all the Lkwds, and they would come to you in Borough Park and in Flatbush and in Williamsburg and Willie and Monroe. If you lived in any of these places, and they would say, vote for this person. What do you mean? This person smacked my wife in the face. Of course not, you wouldn't vote for them. You don't care what Rav would tell you, what Lkwd, what asking. If they would charge you under the leadership of that particular office holder, mayor or governor, $15 for a special Pesach, pre-Pesach collection, and they would come to your door to collect the money in advance so they wouldn't take your garbage, you would pay it, but you would grind your teeth and say, never again will I vote for the Cuomo or the de Blasio or whoever was in charge of this chutzpah. So it's $15. You won't vote for the Schmutzjak. Not because he's a Schmutzjak, because he costed you Geld. So is it by you Geld über Gott? Geld über alles? What about the fact that he's insulting God, that he may cursing this guy Cuomo? I'll say it again and again. He's Shamalacha. Watch out. You're not going to be put to anybody who's hearing this, and their wives and their children and their associates. Because if you know something is logical, and that's Kedusha, and that's the din, and you keep it a secret, you'll have to give a din v'chayim for them also, for not telling your wife, for not telling your kids, for not telling people. How can you go? You don't need a Lkwd from Rabbanim to say this. It's common logic. I just spotted Oisvi. I just proved it to you. If they did something to hurt you even slightly financially or physically, you wouldn't consider voting for them. It wouldn't matter who came to your house. If they'd bring Avraham Avinu back and he would tell you vote for them. What? He smacked my wife? What? He cost me $15 out of my pocket to make an extra Pesach collection of the chametz? No way. Rabbi Say, I'll say it again and again. Do not go and vote. Hoy, we have to vote. We have to vote. Reb Moshe said, yeah, this Reb Moshe, I know what Reb Moshe said. I know better. Reb Moshe said he was hell on fire against the schmutz. He involved himself in Dade County in writing a letter. Okay? If you read the letter carefully, that Reb Moshe wrote in the letter something about Hakar Tzatoiv, and it was written, I think, in 1984 by the re-election of Ronald Reagan. If you read between the lines, somebody pointed out to me, it could be that, what's Hakar Tzatoiv? Can I ask you a question? You have to have Hakar Tzatoiv to build de Blasio, who recently made sure that when that Arab attacked the 62-year-old man and beat him down and almost ran over somebody else before that it should only be, it shouldn't be listed as a hate crime. Yeah? De Blasio, right? That's what he did for us. Think about it, Rabbi Say. These are the kinds of people, these are the kinds of oisvafen. You owe them Hakar Tzatoiv, you owe De Blasio Hakar Tzatoiv, you owe Cuomo Hakar Tzatoiv. At what cost? Hakar Tzatoiv, he did the worst thing for you. Because I got to cut a deal with them, we'll shut up about the gay marriage, we'll only make a token protest, and you give us tap for yeshivas, we have to have Hakar Tzatoiv for that. We sold out like a Esnan Zoina, like a prostitute money. We sold out like a harlot, like a whore. There, you don't like the way I say it. Pastor, who ever heard of a rabbi saying such things? Harlot, whore, prostitute. That's what it is. My Rebbe said, will the lady in the front seat cover her udders? We got to speak udder. Udder, you understand that when we're speaking for years, nice and calm and gentlemanly and everything else. No. It's a tutvei schreitman. David HaMelech answered Michal Bashol. She said, Tzapasnish, David HaMelech, are you one of the Rekim? Are you one of the Poichas and Rekim? You're one of the pantry boys. You're taking off your cloak and you're dancing with other abandoned in front of the Aron. And David HaMelech said, when it comes to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I have no personal dignity. That's where we're holding now, Rabbi Sai. The tire is hitting the road. The rubber's on the road. There's no more cushion anymore. It's like the back of my 2001 car that had lost the suspension and the shocks are shot, and the whole back of the car is almost touching the ground. I can't afford to fix it because they want $600, you understand? But this is the matziv. The back of our car is almost scraping against the ground. It's ground zero now. We got to talk tachlis. Stop voting. So you say, oh, if you don't vote, then they don't care about your community. Oh, I didn't mean that you shouldn't go and vote. Of course, go and vote. Do a write-in. Write in any name you want. Write in Conservative Joe. Write in President Trump. If Chas v'Sholem, the Askanim would actually get together and they would have all the Fruma Yidden do a write-in, so there'd be a few thousand in Monroe area, in Square, in Muncie, in Willie, in Staten Island, in Borough Park, in Flatbush, in Queens, etc. Imagine, it would be in all the papers, a phenomenon. There were 20,000 write-ins in the Democratic primary, let alone a general election, 40 or 50,000 write-ins. These Jew boys are serious about morality. Everybody would know. What does it cost? Oh, we might lose a few dollars. This is also a sheker. I want to tell you this myth. If we antagonize them, all of a sudden, we feel like Gullus in Mizending Gullus. We need the politicians. We need the money. Yeah, all of a sudden you're in Gullus, right? When it suits you in Gullus, you play it, it's unbelievable. When it comes to screaming outside the police station in Borough Park, then you're not in Gullus. But now when it comes to chipping with the politicians, they're supposed to be public servants. In 1982, when I organized a meeting that forced Cuomo, because we took over, I did an Al Sharpton Misa, I was 28. I took a bunch of Hispanics and Blacks and Orthodox Jews, men and women, clergymen, and we walked into the World Trade Center before there were security checks. When the guards saw these distinguished people walking in, clergymen, and we just said to him, we walked in 8:45, we just said, we have an appointment. We're supposed to be waiting for the governor in his conference room. We went right in and sat down. We didn't leave until we were promised a meeting with the governor, which took place. And when the governor was being a mechutzef and he was cross-examining Cuomo and acting in a dictatorial way with superior debating skills and chipping with all of the clergymen there who got up to testify that he shouldn't make a gezerah, a so-called special rights for homosexuals, and it got after 2 hours of the meeting and he got too mechutzeftik and started to scream like a kaisen. I, a young 28-year-old, ran up to the speaker's lectern and I pointed my finger at the governor. I said, Mr. Governor, may I remind you, you are a public servant, sir. You serve the people. In other words, you're not a dictator telling us what to do and snapping with your cars. And I pointed my finger at him. He got mamish upset. He picked himself up. He stormed out, and everybody was shell-shocked. Woo, was is given? Garnish is given. We had another meeting with him. He did what he wanted, but he pushed it off. And it was a Kiddush Hashem, and he had to have another meeting with rabbis, and he even looked at me, Rabbi Levin, he was looking around because somebody else was, Rabbi Hill Handler was giving him a hard time. Maybe you didn't say anything, Rabbi Levin. By the way, when he left office, he sent me through Suri Kasira, who was the daughter of the late great Rabbi Kasira, who was my 9th grade Rebbe in the Chavetz Chaim in Queens before I went out of town. Suri Kasira sent me a book that Cuomo wrote about Lincoln. It was very interesting. I don't know if it was by design or not. Obviously, he had hundreds of books and he sent them out, but that he sent that one out to Yehuda Levin. But that's a different story. The point is, you got to stand up for what's right, and don't worry, you're not going to lose anything. That politicians are like doggies. When a doggy growls, if you get scared and you move away, the doggy is emboldened. You know what you have to do? You have to stamp at the dog. You have to scream at the dog, or maybe even hit the dog with a stick. That's what it understands. So when I fought with Solas, oi, you're going to take away all the money. Solas going to ignore us. He's going to say, baloney. Solas poured in more money than ever before for the next 6 years from 84 to 90 until he was redistricted out. And from going from writing a liberal Dear Commandante letter to the communist Ortega, he went to becoming fiercely anti-communist in South America. Yes. And he made sister cities with Laniato Hospital. Said, don't you dare tell me, you phony askanim, you liars, you shakranim. I walked the walk. I didn't just talk the talk. I was out there and I did it with Solas and I proved the point. And that's the way it is. The question is, in the relationship of the Jew and the politician, One of the two is going to have to whore, that's what I'm saying, prostitute themselves to the other one. The question is, who is going to be the Zayna? Who is going to be the whore to who? So is it going to be the growling politician? We're going to and we're going to go here's an Esnan Zayna. Here we're going to contribute to your campaign coffers. We're going to all vote for you. We're going to keep the Haimis in line. We're going to put our kolkairas. We're going to elect you and schmeck you and everything else. Is that the way it's going to go? Or is it going to be fakert? We're going to do like Solas. When I hit Solas in the nose, I got on the Barry Farber program. I debated with him. On the Brenner Spivak program. I had articles in the Jewish press, pictures, and I checked him, and I cost him $225,000 in campaign things, and I got 1/3 of the votes, which was double what anybody else got. Solas was running around for years later in the district. He changed his whole demeanor. He became the whore. He was throwing money at us. That's the language they understand. Whoever listens to his program and themselves does not change their voting practice, they continue to vote for them in the volume, whether they are Republicans or Democrats. Do not assume the Republicans are kosher. Whoever does this, whoever lets their wife and kids do this, I don't care, my friend. It's nothing personal, but you're asad litenas hadin. There's no heter for it now. Rabbi side in Parashas Noach, in different parts of the world, there was tremendous. There was loss of life. I forget in which country. There were tremendous flooding and storms. And in case you didn't know, it was in Panama City, a place in Florida. Shreklich, what was going on in Parashas Noach, the devastation. There was at least 19 people who lost their lives. Wake up. It used to be, you'd see it at the other end of the world, Hashem was sending us messages. Now it's B'Ktsei HaMachne. It's already in the United States. There are different floods and different things like that. It's happening to us. It's coming to a theater near you. Wake up. Wake up and realize what's going on. There is no heta in the world. The Chilul Hashem is Oyim V'Naira. That if you go on the Kiddush Hashem, when Cory Booker was running against Lanigan in Lakewood in districts 10 and 26, I think there were 90% or maybe 99% voted for Lanigan, who stood for conservative values. It was one of the rare Kiddush Hashems. There's no reason that this is only in the Olam HaTorah that this can happen. We're all kulanu b'nei Torah, kulanu tzaddikim, v'amei kulam tzaddikim. We got to stand up and vote against. Vote against these. Molinaro is treif. He's running for governor. He's chazit treif. In a certain way, he's worse than Cuomo. Why is he worse? Because when you masquerade and you get the conservative line, and Chairman Michael Long of the Conservative Party did not have the guts, the courtesy, or the decency to return my call. I know the man for 40 years. And I told the secretary what I'm calling about. She said, he'll call you back. Tug. He's also become prostituting the values of the Conservative Party. Do not think that you can just vote for somebody because they have the conservative endorsement. Too many times it can't. If you don't do research, then don't make a chilul Hashem. Shev va'al tasa odif. Would you buy a car, a house without doing a title search? Would you buy a car for several $1,000s without getting it checked out? No. So why, when it comes to votes, is it a throwaway thing? You're making a shliach for the next 2 or 4 years or more, because once they get in, they stay in. It's your achrayas, all the tinuf, the tenoifos that they do, you have a chas v'sholom chelik in it. Stop already. Stop. Do not be fooled. Do not be lulled by the lullabies of the Askanim. It's garbage, Rabbi Isai. We're in a desperate situation. And we have a chance to make a tremendous Kiddush Hashem. By the way, whoever votes for Daniel Rosenthal, who took over Simanowitz's position, all of a shalom, Rosenthal votes for gender. Gender is a pro-homosexual employment non-discrimination act. It's Maila, it elevates the Mishkevizotha. He voted for an abortion non-discrimination thing, which means that in a Hebrew school, in a Beis Yaakov, if you have a teacher, especially for sure an English teacher, and one day she's pregnant and the girls know it, and the next day she comes and she says pregnant, they say, Mrs. Chvesos, you had a baby? She said, no, I had an abortion. Then according to this law that Rosenthal voted for, you can't discriminate against her. She's free to speak her mind and to show, etc., etc. There's not a religious exemption for that in the secular department. Rosenthal has voted for a whole host of schmutz, garbage, promiscuous bills. But he wore his hat when he was running for election, and he went to Aguda, etc., etc. Kew Garden Hills, Rabbi Yoel Schoenfeld, president or one of the chief officers of the Jewish Values Coalition or Coalition of Jewish Values, whatever they call themselves. They're doing some good work. This is in your backyard. Giving a shout out, Rabbi Noach Holbaum, Rabbi Peretz Steinberg, Emeritus, and all the rest of them. Vader Rabbanim of Queens. You're going to go let people vote for Rosenthal? Why he's a Shomer Shabbos? He's a Shomer Shabbos. He should be held to a higher standard. He's a disgrace. He's a Chilul Hashem. And he's not the only one. In Flatbush, Helene Weinstein, yeah, you should see Levkowitz and Dr. Goodness. Oh, Helene Weinstein, what she did for us with this, with that, etc., etc. I can't recall to you right now. You'll have to take my word for it. This woman has voted for stuff that's antithetical to the existence of Klal Yisrael in America. Antithetical, negative. How do you vote for such people? Rabbi Say, it's gar bitter. The Orthodox Jews are doing bad news. I want to repeat again. Simcha Eichenstein is going to be the next assemblyman. He's going to make his maiden inaugural remarks when he takes his seat in the assembly, whether the first day or the second day. That is a crucial time. I don't care what statements he makes when he makes the Simcha here, like Fryer made here for all the Yidden, Judge Fryer, you know? The love fest, or the congratulations. We needed to have a lady shefetes. It's hashkafa, and some real winner, some tief hashkafist, wrote a book about Kiddush Hashem, and he writes how Mrs. Fryer, the first Hasidic lady judge, is a Kiddush Hashem. It's not a Kiddush Hashem when a woman has sorrow when she's a shefetes. What is she, Devorah? She's sitting behind a tree, really, with all the things the Chazal say. So anyhow, to get back to it. I'm not going to talk about it. It's not, we do not kvel from having women represent us in public. We do not kvel from that. No, we don't. I don't care if everybody can say it. I can say it. I'm not trying to win a popularity contest. If I'm popular, I'm not doing the job. By the Chet HaEgel, my brother Levium, my forebearers, Mila Hashem Elai, they weren't winning popularity contests when Moshe Rabbeinu said, take a sword and chop off the head of your father and your brother. Okay? That's what it's about, Rabbi. So if you really care, that's what it's about. It's not about being polite. So the point of the matter is, we are in deep, deep trouble. And you shouldn't be voting for anybody, Democrat, Republican, Conservative, unless you know they're not a Chilul Hashem. You can't be Soimich today. That's what it is. The overwhelming majority of people are Chazet Treif. So getting back to Simcha Eichenstein, I don't care what production he makes in Borough Park. And in Borough Park, he'll give a speech here. Yeah, no. Declare the first day. Remember the halacha in Yeridea. If a pot is being polate, it's pushing out tam, it can't be boleya, it can't swallow in tarfistic tam. He has to be declaring the first day. That's the first day. You know how it is with a shidduch? The first time you knock on the door, you see the girl. It's called first impressions. First impressions are very important. That's what sticks in the mind of both parties, the young man, the young lady. First impressions. First impression, Simcha Eichenstein. Let's see if he's going to speak out and say, I will read an address to proudly, I'm telling him the words that he can say, to proudly represent the Torah, family, values, and biblical standards that has allowed our community to survive through inquisitions, Holocaust, pogroms, millennia of dispersal throughout the world, of being second or third rate persecuted citizens. We survived because we hewed faithfully to our Torah values of being a nation of priests and holy people. Unfortunately, today we are going downhill, and our way of life and our ability to practice our religion is being tremendously hampered. and I will be a lightning rod to speak up for values. I would like that my co-citizens and my co-legislators who are faithful, religious people who go to their houses of worship on Sundays or Fridays, they should be able to look to me to see on anything that approaches a moral family values issue that I want to be acknowledged as a lightning rod, as a leader in this. Look at that beautiful speech. That would say volumes. I will give a kiddush if Eichenstein does that. But if he doesn't do that, and I'm afraid he's not going to, and you'll get a copy of what he did say, or he'll say some mealy-mouthed little throwaway sentence because I'm making a tumult about this now. It ain't going to work, Simcha. It's nothing personal. You're a nice guy. You're friendly. You're bright. You're sophisticated. You're wonderful. You're gewaldig and everything else. But I'm going to be on you like Scotch tape. We will report on every step. We are not going to see the creation of an anti-Torah values Frankenstein in the legislature that we will have to whore out to you. No, you are supposed to be our public servant. That's the way it's going to be, Reb Simcha, to the extent that Hashem gives me the koach to speak out about this and pass on the word. Marav Rabbi Say, again, this situation here of ladies running for political office, Orthodox ladies, we said last week that Friedman's daughter, the ex-Notori Karta, Wacko, his daughter is running for a city council job in Antwerpen, Belgium. Chas v'sholom, she should get in. Busy shaking hands with the people and speaking about stunning animals before Shechita. You understand? We don't need this. We don't need this. Now there's a woman whose parents were Russian emigres from Russia, and she lives in the West Side, and her name is Naomi Levin, same name as my daughter, my first child. Naomi Levin is running against Jerry Nadler. She's running the Republican Conservative ticket. I sent her an email, which was ignored. I said, please tell us where you stand on abortion on demand, where you stand on the gay agenda, etc., etc. Now, between me and you and her, you all know that she's not beating Jerry Nadler with her $27,000, and he has hundreds of thousands of dollars or more. We know she's not beating a powerful Jerry Nadler in a liberal district. So what would hurt if she spoke out? She doesn't have to be as fanatic about as Yehuda Levin, but she could also give that signal. I want to stand up for the biblical values. Yeah, she spoke about taxes and education in charter schools and maybe even guns, but she didn't say a word about morality when I asked her. So it's no mitzvah to vote for her. Yes, she's much better than Nadler, and she's probably even a Shomer Shabbos, maybe a modern ortho. Fine. And guess what? She might even be pro-life, and she might even really be anti the Mishkav Zach agenda, but she makes a cheshbon. It doesn't pay to speak about it now, this and that. These cheshbonos are not good anymore. We need, I don't say she has to speak about it constantly, but if we can't find one piece in her literature, and it's before election day, we can't find one speech she gave, even a throwaway line, I am for Torah family values, to say that, then I don't think you should be voting for Naomi Levin. And I want to tell you a little background about Nadler. Now, you should do a write-in, whatever it is. Do not vote for her. Don't make this judgment of the lesser of two evils or sending a message in this way by voting for her. My opinion is you don't vote for somebody who is asked to do this. There's still time from the airing of this of this program. There'll be 2 weeks, basically, to the elections, or 2.5 weeks. Call her up. I couldn't find a number for her even. Call her up, send her an email, and ask her, will she make some sort of a statement on the subject of family values? If we have to sacrifice by voting for a woman to have sorora, which is not so pashut even la halacha, so at least if she speaks out for family values a little bit. If not, hatifa pakt, Rabbi Say, don't do it. And if 20 people would call her up and say, we're not going to vote for you if you don't say this, she'd get the message. It would teach her a little something also. Let me tell you, people are against Nadler. You know why they're so upset about Nadler? Because Iran, he voted with Obama's Iran deal. Oh. But on Kvod Shamayim and the morality, yeah, we couldn't care less. You know the story. The story was that there was a Hungarian, he was a Holocaust survivor. His name was Ted Weiss. This is the way he talked. And Ted Weiss was an Oishof who represented Greenwich Village. And they were redistricting, and Ted Weiss was now going to have, because of me, they redistricted. Because of me, Yehud 11. Because when they saw that Borough Park and Williamsburg were together in 84, and I gave Solas a $225,000 run for his money, coming out of nowhere, coming out of Mir Yeshiva with no political background, they said, we got to split. We got to dilute the Orthodox vote. So they put Williamsburg into a different district than Borough Park. You know what they replaced Williamsburg with? Because God has a sense of humor. With Greenwich Village. We'll show those blankety-blank Jaimes, those Frumaks, will twin Greenwich Village with Nadler. So Ted Weiss dropped dead after the primary. And therefore, Jerry Nadler, a former yeshiva student who knows better, he can't even claim ignorance. Jerry Nadler went from being, I think, a city councilman to something, and Jerry Nadler got the go-ahead to be the replacement for Ted Weiss. And Min HaShamayim, I happened to be, for one of the only times I was ever in a political clubhouse, the 45th Assembly District Clubhouse on Coney Island Avenue, when Nadler walked in with Schumer, who was then a congressman. It was before he was a senator. And I don't know if it was by design they were speaking in front of me, but Mamish Nadler was saying to Schumer in my earshot, the first thing I have to do when I get into office is I got to vote for, and sponsor some gay rights bills. You hear? The yeshiva boy, Nadler. This didn't bother Borough Park. They didn't read the coffee dregs. They didn't read the tea leaves and understand why did Hashem make to twin Greenwich Village with Borough Park. It's because Hashem said, you don't care about the Greenwich Village type activities? I'll twin you with them. So instead of the Yidden saying Gewalt, he's sending us a message, Anach Tag. We'll vote for Nadler, we'll kiss up to him. But now if he's in office for 20, 25 years or whatever it is, so he has the chutzpah on Iran to do something so anti-Israel. This we're upset about. Morality, God's hashkafa, we're not. The morality affects us, and we don't protest against it, so our kids get fondled in the mikvayos and molested with alle mini shtusim. The shtusim, not shtusim, alle mili feh. We don't put it together, because nobody teaches us that hashkafa. But I, as a student of Rabbi Victor Miller, I was taught this hashkafa. By the way, this guy Singer, State Senator Singer of Lakewood, supports something to do with marijuana. Now, I don't know if it extends to recreational marijuana or just medical marijuana. All right? But I don't even know, and there has to be a big shiloh by real Gedolei Yisrael and Bali Hashkafa, if we Orthodox Jews should have our representatives pushing medical marijuana. And I'll tell you why. It's going to come without us. But even those who are only matter medical marijuana, Hayom is medical marijuana. I was in Toronto for the Shevach to my son last week, and they had just started the first days where marijuana was legalized either in Ontario or in Gans, Canada. It's going to be a Bechil Adoris Ochenvei, Rabbi Say. Okay, and by the way, I hear there's tremendous problems already with yeshiva students, not in the yeshivas, maybe in the dorms, but there's big problems with our youth and marijuana already. So we need Singer from Lakewood to vote for marijuana of any sort of usage. And the stupid OU that I heard that they talk, the same OU that doesn't make a machah against the Mount Sinai shul in the Washington Heights that has a rabbi that is pro the modern Mishkav Zachor agenda, worse than YU. You understand the OU that has several in their satellite synagogues, in their constellation of their 1,000 congregations, whatever it is, that are mamish chayvei Torah types, they're mamish extreme lefties, and they support all kinds of schmutz, lemechzel shish revi. The OU continues to allow them to affiliate. There's no standards and values. You understand? So OU idioten, this talk about giving some kind of hechsher on these marijuana cookies or medical marijuana or dos or yentz or whatever it is, it might as well be kosher. We'll make it even easier for people. It's all ishma. I'm telling you, these people have the hashkafa that if you put it into a 1 ounce schnapps glass, all the hashkafa, I could still put in 3/4 of an ounce of chocolate liqueur and make a shakal and a l'chaim. It's pathetic. It's disgusting. It's laughable if it wasn't such a tragic comedy. Okay, let's move right along, Rabbi Sai. The clock is ticking. We're having fun. I want to report to you a few weeks ago, Merwis, the chief rabbi of England and the Commonwealth, he issued a series of protocols, guidelines to be taught in all of the Jewish schools to sensitize the students to have tolerance for people of other orientations. In other words, Mishkav Zocha propaganda. And I said, I wonder if the European Vad of Rabbanim, of European rabbis, are going to condemn this. I wonder if the Rabbanim in Eretz Yisrael, the Gedolei Yisrael in America, Baruch Hashem, in Devorah Wakesman's article in the Jewish press, you didn't read this in Hamadiyah or in Yated, you read it in the Jewish press, that just started another new column of Yeshiva news. The Jewish press is moving tremendously to the right, and I wish I could say the same for Hamadiyah and Yated. Yeah. So the point is that the Haredi rabbis, Rabbi Padua and company, Rabbi Schneeberg and Rabbi Zimmerman from Gateshead, they came out with a statement. They just said they were very careful not to step on the toes of Merwis. Really, he should be condemned roundly for what he did. Personally, he should be condemned because they didn't do that. But they said we have to protest. We have to say kach. At least it was some kind of macha. Was it enough? Does God's Kvod Shemayim know borders? Is there any reason the European Vada Rabbanim internationally shouldn't say anything, or the Gedolim of American Eretz Yisrael? Of course there's no reason. Now, what about this Jewish coalition, this coalition of Jewish values? They were mamish fire on Kavanaugh. That was quite political. So I want to ask a question. If Kavanaugh becomes a big thing, and they mamish very much on Trump's side, this coalition of Jewish values, so I want to ask you a question. I said last week, there should be a biblical scorecard with 10 issues of abortion, suicide, homosexuality, transgenderism, and we should know how Rosenthal votes, how Weinstein votes, how Felder votes, how Heiken voted. Well, he's not in Berlin, etc., etc. There should be such a thing. I asked face-to-face one of the top officials of Aguda, who I met at Landau's davening. I asked him about this. Of course, there was no answer. I asked him, how could he be sure when that letter from Moshe spoke about Hakaras HaTov? What Hakaras HaTov was there? He meant Hakaras HaTov to what? To marry a Cuomo? If you read between the lines, it was mash for the Hakaras HaTov to Ronald Reagan for different things that he did for the Jewish community for Eretz Yisrael, although he did the AWACS thing, which was negative, but most of the stuff he did was very positive. So there's a svara to be said that that's what Ramoshe's letter meant with Hakaras HaTov. Ramoshe didn't mean that today we have to have Hakaras HaTov to Eiswarfen like Rosenthal and Cuomo and de Blasio. And I say them with one mouthful because Rosenthal is worse, because they're Ein Yehudim, but Rosenthal's a Haredi Yid or an Orthodox Jew. Fair. And to vote for Weprin, a Baal Tshuva, fair. I might be skipping one or two other Orthodox Jews, but fair. Right? So the Coalition of Jewish Values, they recently put in an amicus brief with Aguda, with the Rabbinical Alliance of America, with the OU, with the this one, that one, about they want to expand the definition of an original bill in 1972 that Nat Lewin was involved in drafting that would protect Shmir Shabbos, and that was interpreted narrowly by the Supreme Court some years ago, maybe in 1977. So now they feel with the court going the way it's going, they have another. It's very nice. Will the Coalition of Jewish Values, will they, if Agudas Yisrael is not going to give a biblical scorecard, how about if you're political already with Kavanaugh and Trump, so you can be political, give biblical scorecard, just the facts. You say, here are the facts. Take 10 issues. You hear, I'm talking to Rabbi Yoel Schoenfeld, who fights against the Mishkav Zocha. Tachlis, Reb Joel, Tachlis. I want to mention the Jewish Coalition of Values should issue a biblical scorecard. If it's good enough for millions of Christians who get it, from the Christian Coalition and from other organizations. And until a number of years ago, New Yorkers for Constitutional Freedom in upstate New York used to publish one that I used to consult with. There's no reason that the Jewish Coalition for Values, that's what values is about. Not just Rabbi Merkin's giving a speech, which was very nice, in favor of Jack the Baker, who stood up for the values of morality and got a $122,000 fine that was overturned by the Supreme Court. That's good, Rabbi Merkin, but it's not good enough. Rabbi Gordimer, you did beautiful. You wrote against transgender. It's very nice. Biblical scorecard, Jewish Coalition for Values. Now, before the election, I challenge you, but I won't hold my breath. I will try to remember to put in a call to Rabbi Joel Sonnenfeld. Somebody out there might actually be listening to the program who knows one of these parties from Jewish Values Coalition or Jewish Coalition of Values or Coalition of Jewish Values, whatever it is. Rabbi Schoenfeld of Queens, a very fine person. Rabbi Gordimer, Rabbi Merkin, please ask them what they can do about this. And all the 1,000 rabbis, maybe they could do a biblical scorecard. I have a feeling they won't want to get involved in this. This is like the third rail. For Kavanaugh and Trump, we can get political. But for God, and to prevent Yidden from voting for Shmutz Yaks, whether they're Haredi or they're Goyim or Fraya, that we can't do. No, I wish I would be proven wrong. They should prove me wrong. Let's see. I want to give a Gifaldige Yashikoyach to the former fire chief of Atlanta, Georgia, a black man, religious Christian, who was a fire chief. He was appointed by Obama to be the head of the National Fire Chiefs Organization. And then he went back to Atlanta, Georgia to be the fire chief. And then he published a book, and he's a devout Christian, so he wrote a few pages about Mishkav Zachar marriage. They fired him. So he went and he did a lawsuit against them. And he didn't win totally because he didn't win in court. But the lawyer, at a certain point, the lawyer for the city of Atlanta said it's going to cost us so much to defend this thing. And they had a feeling they might lose. They paid him $1.2 million for firing him. But you see, he's a guy who stood up. He wrote publicly his morality things. And he stood up for values and he challenged in court. Mimenu, Chachma B'Goyim Timing, we should learn from him. There's a Goyish website called LifeSite News, where I got this story from. LifeSite News are devout Catholics, but they cover the world and they tell you all the morality stories. In this day, today, they had a story from a few days ago about how Trump has been very good on abortion. Nationally, internationally, he's doing different things. And they had a big picture of him holding up a rainbow sign, gays for Trump. You hear? They put it in. They're not kissing up to Trump. When he's good, they give him credit on abortion. When he's bad in Mishkav Zachar, he just appointed to the horrific, ultra-liberal Ninth Circuit, the San Francisco, the hilarious. He just appointed an open homosexual judge. This is the second openly homosexual judge he appointed. And LifeSite News covered it, and they covered all the professors and the people who spoke criticism of Trump. Again, Chachma B'Goyim Timing, we have to learn to be like them. When Trump does something good, compliment, but when he does something bad, open your mouth against him. Not the kind of Hanifa that goes on here. It was a little much with the Kavanaugh things. They had 10 stories with the Jewish Coalition of Values, 5 stories with this, with that, Ahin Neher. They were attacking the lady Ford and Ahin Neher. It's all wonderful. It doesn't come near to the morality. The Dugish has to be the ultimate values coalition. More than anything else is Kedoshim Tiyu. That's what it's about. And that's what you got to stand up for, 4 square, and let the chips fall where they may. We want to see the Jewish Values Coalition of the 1,000 rabbis who's doing the job that are good and you are not doing, and we give them kudos for this. They got to do it a lot better. We want to hold their feet to the fire. We expect more from them. More from them. There should be more statements. They should be on top of it. With their 1,000 rabbis, they should assign 50 rabbis from across the country to monitor the various media and to search everything every day in their locale that has to do with morality. And they should weigh in. They should make statements and comments and become a force to be reckoned with. Not just carefully crafted in specific cases with Trump to be in the White House. Yeah, I'm not taking away. What the good they're doing good. They can do a lot better, and we're going to tell them about it. Let's see. Gary Sher in Lakewood, forget about it. How could you vote for him? Oisvarf, I told you. State Senator Singer, be mavar on him also, his votes, and find out on the marijuana thing. We spoke about Simcha Eichenstein. We spoke about the Kasha V'Rov. By the way, Matzav had a headline. The headline is, the human vermin Farrakhan said the Jews are termites. He's not an anti-Semite. The Jews are termites and stupid. Okay, why did they have to call him Rabbi Hiziger, who runs Matzav, maybe owns it, whatever it is, maybe with Pinchas Lipshus, without, who cares? But even the Yated would not write something in their paper on Farrakhan human vermin. In other words, you're tying on Yehuda Levin that he calls people who are got, who are vergelte begot, and I say they're whoring out, and it's Esna Zoinda, that's not nice. And to write the Matzav, who are in Golis, unchecked with Farrakhan that way, to call human vermin, that some shocher should get a hold of it and spread around that the Jews are calling Farrakhan human vermin, that's very smart. That's really a Matzav, right? You can't even just do it like Yated would do it. There was another one that had a headline. It wasn't so civil to it. I think Matzav should apologize to the Frume Yidden. You don't go like a baby calling him human vermin. It's not necessary. It's stupid. It doesn't accomplish anything. You can make the same points without doing that. Levin, you can make the same points? No, obviously I can't, because I've been in the business for 40 years, and it's a whole garnish. It's a whole garnish, Rabbi say. Well, I think that I want to know the assisted suicide is coming up for a vote in New Jersey. And it's important that everybody, every single person in New Jersey, or people in New York should be concerned, because it's going to go from New Jersey to New York. It's coming out there also. People should call their relatives in New Jersey, and they should tell them that they have to call their assemblymen and state senators and tell them, if you vote for any sort of assisted suicide, then we absolutely will oppose you. Come hell or high water, we'll never vote for you again, and we'll support candidates against you. That's the way it has to be done. Not nice, not stark. There should be petitions like that. It should be circulated in all the Fruma areas, modern Orthodox, everybody, because remember, they're going to be pulling the plug and coming after your parents and your grandparents. That's what's going to happen. So if you're not doing it for gut on the morality issues, at least on the assisted suicide, wake up. And let's see how many people are good and the OU are going to round up what they're doing now, and this thing might come up as soon as October 29th. In the General Assembly, it might come up for a vote. And there was a one vote. It passed by one vote. Remember, Murphy is going to sign it. And in the Jewish press that publishes this, they said that there's a woman, assembly member or something, Calabrese or something like that in Passaic, and there's another name there. These are the people, again, I tell you can use MISA money. If you to subscribe to the Jewish press, they get better from week to week on the morality things. Kol hakavod to them. I'm a kind of dechelik in of what they're doing. That doesn't mean they're doing everything right. That doesn't mean they agree with all their philosophy. But we're doing the morality. From them, we should learn and emulate. Rabbi Say, Esav marries, Chazan gets Mechila. We learn it from Esav, and Esav married Machlas, Bas Yishmael. That's how we learn out from Mechila. Why was she called Machlas? Why was she called Machlas? The Gemara says there was no such person as Machlas. Her name was Basmas. She was Machlas to teach us that when you marry somebody, you get Mechilas Avainus. Why from Yishmael? Why was she called Machlas? Why wasn't it the man? The man is the Iker and the Shidduch. Why don't we learn that from man? So I want to suggest like this, that Yishmael, when Avram said, Lu Yichye Yishmael B'ni, when he was told, in this week's parsha, I think it is, he was told about a kid. He said, I'm going to have a kid at 100. Lu Yichya, my son should live. He wasn't talking about he should have Arichas Yom V'Shanim in this world. Yishmael, he meant Bezel Baba. He was the father. He cared. So he cared. So therefore he davened. So because of that, Yishmael was able to do tshuva and get a mechila. But more than that, it says in the next week's parsha that Ela Baka Ratz Avram, and he told Yishmael to prepare the meat for the things. Remember that whole mindset of God Lachnasis Pnei God Lachnasis Orchen Yosim B'Kolos Pnei Ashchina, they were zoichet to sukkah. So he was being machanech Yishmael a mitzvah, and that was a mitzvah that brought sukkah. Sukkah brings mechilas avaynis v'lekach v'lechem b'yam rishon. So that was the way. That was a methodology, perhaps, that Yishmael was Zocha to do tshuva and to get Mechilus of Yom Tov. So his daughter, because the Pascal comes out, Bas so-and-so, to so-and-so, the daughter absorbed from the father, so she becomes a chefza machlas. And since she's machlas, she brings from her father the koyach of Mechila. And that's why even in Esav, everybody has a crack at Mechila. Kal v'chayim, we should learn. We should take advantage of that. This is Yehuda Levin wishing you until next week a good and Thomas. Spread the word. Spread the word. Contact the Jewish Coalition, Rabbi Yoel Schoenfeld. Ask them to be more strong on the issues. Contact Aguda. Speak out to your legislators. Do the job and don't vote for any schmutziaks. Write in or stay home. A good and Thomas.